Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of BizzTalk Africa. I'm Jason Schuster, your host, and I'm here with my co-host, Vidya Mike. Vidya, how are you today?
Wonderful, wonderful. I'm still in the Caribbean.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. Still making us all jealous. I love it.
It's everything you see on Pirates of the Caribbean and more.
Beautiful. I love it. I love it. Well, we are really excited today. We have a wonderful guest and a really cool topic. Victor is here from Startup Agenda. Hi, Victor. How are you today?
Hey, Jason. I'm doing very well today. Thank you for having me. It's a sunny day in Lagos. What's the situation? What's it like in your own end?
Oh, I'm in Austin, Texas, so it's hot. It's hot outside. But it's also
Brilliant.
very pretty. If you can deal with the heat, it's very pretty. So
Austin is spectacular. It is.
It is. I do love it here.
Amazing food across the world exists in Austin. That is the foodie world. If you're a foodie, go to Austin. I 100%
Not wrong.
agree. Yeah.
There's a reason that I'm here, and there's a reason that I'm carrying around a little bit more weight than I'm supposed to.
The good
But
life,
anyways,
Jason.
anyways, Victor, thank you for being here. We're glad to have you today. And our topic today is SME as a growth driver of economics. Now, Victor, could you take a few minutes to go ahead and introduce yourself, tell the audience a little bit about your background, your story, and then maybe a little bit about your company as well.
Okay. Thank you so much, Jason. My name is Victor Uche Obioma. I'm Nigerian, father to 3 interesting kids. I have 2 boys and a daughter. Currently, I sit on the board of BigForce Integrated Solutions Limited. And as well, I am the advisory board member for Startup Agenda. At BigForce, we procure and supply lubricants, spare parts, and all manufacturing operations equipment and all end-to-end support systems for multinationals. And at Startup Agenda, it is my duty to try to leverage my experience and exposure across IT, across consumer electronics, across service sector, and across procurement to help solve everyday problems which SMEs encounter, which has, so to say, kind of hindered growth of SMEs across Nigeria. And that's what gives me the steam to do what I do at SME Agenda, or at Startup Agenda.
Fantastic. And you know what? I mean, what you're doing is so critical and important, because I think folks have underestimated the need for SMEs in our ecosystem. It is so critical. And not everything could be, fancy startups or whatever. But when you have that SME expertise and that knowledge, it's a very different type of business, right?
Yes, it is, Vidi.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, here's a question for you. What led you to where you are now? How did you get in? I mean, what was your background before this? How did you get into these 2 organizations?
Okay, BigForce Integrated Solutions and Startup Agenda are my companies, and so I lead on the board. I lead the team. But prior to delving into business 3 years ago, I worked for Samsung Electronics in the service department. And I was responsible for service operations across 5 countries in West Africa: Nigeria, Ghana, Senegal, Mali, and Togo. Prior to that time, also, I worked with Nokia Nigeria. I was retail manager for the Southeast market. Before then, I worked in Panalpina as airport service manager. And before that time, I was retail representative for British American Tobacco. So end to end, I have garnered some experience across the within the corporate world, and then
I would say so.
Moving into business, I discovered that it wasn't exactly what I thought. So there is a lot of constraints, there are a lot of challenges, and I managed to find my way around each hurdle as they come. So I decided with Startup Agenda to help SMEs or business owners, small business owners and startups to not make the kind of mistakes that I've made, especially as it relates to funding, putting their paperwork together, ensuring that they get things right, building collaborations, building partnerships, growing their businesses, doing the right things that help them navigate the waters or the journey of growing their businesses, basically. That's what we try to achieve at Startup Agenda. So essentially to ensure that startups, founders do not, run themselves into, how do I put it, run themselves into
failure.
difficult, very difficult circles that they can't actually grow their businesses, basically.
Yeah. You know, so refreshing. And the thing is, you couldn't do it better. You've been there, you've done that. But something you said about your past, right? You've had so much experience in the service side of things. I mean, that experience must be so critical now, because even with Startup Agenda, you have like, how to actually mentor people so they don't make the same mistakes. But I think like companies always forget how important it is to have good service, right? Because people need to buy your product. So I'm sure your background helps, structure how you sell your products. If you don't have sales, you have no business.
Brilliant. Yes, my background across different industries, mobile telephony, service, transport, and all that has helped me to basically structure collaborations. Our major customers or our major clients are multinational companies, and my background in the corporate environment helps me to understand how to strike interesting conversations, and then how to present our products in the best way that they tick off or take up the needs or the requirements of these multinationals. And then it makes it easy for me to present our products and then get the right fit, because many times we don't just have conversations. We first start from a needs assessment perspective, understanding what the companies need, and then trying to find how our products meet those needs before we pitch them in formal meetings or formal engagements, so to say. That's how we present our products. So in essence, we come from the needs assessment, and then we try to marry the benefits of our products to the needs of the multinationals. And then we try to engage with the relevant persons, create the avenue to have meetups, and then strike engagements, and then try to see how we can smoothen or seal up business deals, basically. That's the route we go, and it's been very effective in the last 3 years.
Brilliant. And is this something you're going to leverage on in the future with your startup community as well? So, you basically help them, gather momentum in the market?
Yes, Vidi, it's part of the things we do. We try to pour ourselves out, if you ask me, leveraging on the knowledge we have to ensure that we pour out everything we have to startups whom we have direct contact with, to ensure they don't, make mistakes as they navigate their growth journeys. So of course, we leverage our knowledge, and then we try as much as possible to extensively share, to extensively handhold, to extensively, give pointers, to extensively share tips, to extensively share insights that enable that ensure that startups don't make the same mistakes that lead them into, going underwater.
Do you know, Victor, I just have to say this. You have such a pure energy that, it's coming through, right? And this kind of let you be able to instill trust. I want to come and work with you in Lagos now. It's brilliant. Do you see that, Jason? We have so many people on, but your passion and your energy, but you're so genuine that I think, like, for our audience, connect with Victor for sure, because these guys will help you actually be very successful.
Thank you, Vidi, for that. Thank you, Vidi, for that one. Yes, Lagos is an open market. it's an open environment, and I mean, it has a reach or an access for every personality, every culture. So I mean, it's open. You have everybody has a space here, both professionals, roadside technicians. I mean, the guy who is on the young buck on the street who is trying to make ends meet. It's just an ecosystem for every person. I mean, there's just a place for everyone. Thank you for that part. So and back to your saying, yeah, Lagos is open. You can come anytime.
Very good.
I love it. I love it. I have another question about your organization before maybe we'll start diving into the topic itself. And that is, does your organization focus just locally, like in Lagos, or all of Africa, or certain countries in Africa? What's kind of your focus and your reach of who you try to work with?
Okay, brilliant, Jason. We have just started Startup Agenda. Startup Agenda is 3 months old, so we have just started sometime in June. Yeah, and as the days go by, we intend to expand our reach across, I mean, Africa, and then into Europe sometime early 2022. You would appreciate that we are currently at the verge of registering Startup Agenda in Poland as our takeoff space for the European market. So at the moment we're operating from Lagos, but the overall goal is to expand into 4 African countries by Q1 2022, and then have a footprint in Europe, beginning with Poland as our pilot by third quarter of 2022. But all that is in the plan at the moment.
Fantastic. I love the ambition. I love the ambition already. Just, okay, we're going to grow. We're going to reach out, not just here, but in Africa, but also Europe. I love that. So energy and ambition. It's a good combination for an entrepreneur. What do you think, Vidhi?
Absolutely. And but the thing is, it's the methodology as well. This is not just dreams, right? So from what I'm hearing, they've put the foundation into place. They are, they know what they're doing. And Victor, you'll have success, because this is a service that the rest of the world is expecting. And you are in the African community helping to grow what best in class looks like. And you're going to be successful, because to be able to compete with the rest of the world, you need to have that level of quality and engagement.
You are very correct, Vidhi. I mean, so the reason why Q1, Q2 is our plan is so we can at least firm up our strategy, firm up our methodology across. Firm up our strategy, firm up our methodology in Lagos, and then try to penetrate 1 African country, and then see how it goes before we move into the European market. So the essence is, or the reason to go to Europe next year is because prior to Startup Agenda, we had VicForce already operating, and we've had collaborations ongoing before now. And then there is this urgent need to go, basically, or the urgent need to set up an office in Europe. So of course, Startup Agenda will ideally enjoy leverage or mileage that has already been created by VicForce Integrated Solutions, which is the parent company that is leading Startup Agenda as a brainchild, so to say.
So this is, like, I normally ask a little bit penetrating questions, right? So now I'm just telling you this is going to happen now.
I was going to say, I didn't get a chance to warn Victor about Vidhi's curveball questions. So here's my chance to warn you, Victor. Vidhi will give you really good questions.
You may or may not like them. So Victor.
All right, back to you, Vidhi.
All right, got it. Victor, tell me, what makes your offering so different that you would be able to penetrate the European market? Is your target audience the diaspora for Africa, or is it anyone? Why? I mean, because this is a saturated market, right? Europe, America, wherever, startups, mentoring, you have government bodies involved, you have educational facilities involved, because folks know that the next generation is only going to happen if you spend time and effort and money and resources in actually growing the current ones. So there's a lot of effort already in this. How are you why do you think you'll be able to penetrate the market? And the second bit is, how could we and your audience help?
Brilliant question, Vidi. So I would say I am someone who has exposure from the corporate and then currently in the grind of doing business. So I'm a business person myself. So I'm preaching what I practice, basically. So I'm not talking to business persons from the angle of just someone who's been in the corporate, but I'm talking to business persons from the angle of someone who is in the grind myself. So I understand the issues or the challenges critically, and yeah, I pride myself as someone who has a balanced perspective, knowing how the corporate environment works, and then being in the grind myself as a business owner. So I understand when you're trying to get deals closed and someone is sitting on proposals and it's not coming through. I understand when you have to raise money to fund an LPO that has a 30-day timeline and you don't have funds. I understand it when you're trying to close an engagement and there are too many hiccups as it relates to regulations, laws, order, and all that stuff. So how am I going to leverage many of these? I would leverage my exposure being someone who's been in the corporate and someone who is in the business grind himself. So I'm a business owner, so I understand the language of business. I understand the challenges. So there is no better person to advise a business owner than someone who is in the business grind himself.
Indeed, indeed. Very well said, Victor. Very well. We're all convinced. And you have our support always as BizzTalk. I mean, I don't think we'll be able to scratch the surface or the depth of what you're going to be covering. So we'll probably need to have you back in for a second show.
Almost certainly. But on that note, let's maybe shift to the topic at hand, right? So just and again, this probably won't be able to cover everything. So like Vidi said, we'll probably have to have you back. But SMEs as a driver for economies. Victor, maybe start off, share kind of your thoughts on this idea in general. When we say this, what do you mean? How do SMEs drive economies?
Thank you for this interesting question, Jason. So we have clusters like, I'll give typical examples. Clusters in Lagos, like Ladipo Market. That's the major vehicle spare parts market in Lagos. We have clusters like Ojota Market. We have clusters like Aspamda, which is trade fair. Now, this markets, I mean, circle in somewhere around 3 trillion POS transactions only in H1 of 2021, leading somewhere around 462.11 million transactions. I mean, these are transactions that happen on a day-by-day basis, week-by-week basis, and they are predominantly done by, I mean, the SME sector, who currently employs somewhere around 84% of the population of Nigeria and contributes around 48% to Nigeria's GDP, in addition to 96% of the business transactions that happen in Nigeria. So essentially, these are the persons who end-to-end try to drive, I mean, the GDP policy engagements that has put Nigeria on the map, or has put Nigeria on the map as the leading business or investment sector for Africa, basically. So, I mean, we have somewhere around 41 million businesses operating in Nigeria, out of which 96% are SMEs. So, of course, you can tell from the top of your head that, I mean, SMEs control the economy of Nigeria and control
I'm
the
blown
economy
away.
of nations across the world.
I'm so blown away by those statistics.
That's a high number. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Victor, do you have a concentration industry that you guys focus on? And what other industry would you sort of focus on next? How are you building how is your strategy?
Brilliant question, Vidi. So they say charity begins at home. Currently, I operate in the procurement and supply chain. And then I have a little exposure in technology and exposure for service network. So I'm leveraging where I have my core strength, where I have my core, exposure, where I've built collaborations, where I have already existing relationships from my days working for Samsung, Nokia, Panalpina, and all that. Then as the days or as the years go by, we hope to tap into tech, we hope to tap into fintech. We hope to concentrate on logistics, because these are the key sectors that are powering the economies of Nigeria: manufacturing, fintech, logistics. So currently we are focusing on the guys who are operating in the supply chain, and then technology, while we of course try to integrate those who are in logistics, those who are in fintech, those who are in operations. Basically, this is how we intend to go.
Wow.
Fantastic. Okay. And you know what? That we've had a number of people on this show, right? And there's a lot of concentration on fintech and different things. But to sort of now talk a little bit about logistics and supply chain and all that, I think you hit the nail on the head with that, right? Because Africa is being seen to be a world supplier, and this is coming out more and more. As the economy grows, there's more manufacturing, there's more agriculture that's growing, there's so many different things. And I think being able to understand and capitalize on your relationships and grow that supply chain, it's going to be hugely beneficial.
Exactly. Sure, Vidi, you are correct. Logistics, supply chain is it's like the heartbeat of operations. It's like the heartbeat of economies. It's like the heartbeat of trade. And then supply. So that's the reason we are leveraging on where we have our core strength and where we currently operate. You cannot start preaching what you do not practice yourself. So like I said earlier, so
Hallelujah.
I'm practicing what I preach, or I'm preaching what I practice, basically. So I'm starting from where I have my strongest strength, and then trying to put my best foot forward, while I look at clusters that kind of integrate or support the operations or the services that we currently offer. That's again to ensure we do not dilute our exposure or dilute our experience to try to delve into an industry that we do not have strong hold or strong exposure and experience for, basically.
Exactly. Never do too much too soon. Everything has to be in its right time. Victor, just conscious of time as well. What's next for you? What actually, tell me a bit about what you've done that is your proudest moment so far, and what you've achieved that you think, when I'm doing a speech, I'll always talk about this. And then what's next for you?
Thank you for this question, Vidi. Currently, our daily engagements on Startup Agenda is somewhere around 1.8 million persons who see our posts on a day-by-day basis, out of which we have directly supported 20 startups. So what's next for us is to grow out that engagement from 1.8 to somewhere around 3.5 in another before the end of 2021, and then by first quarter 2022, we intend to support at least 50 startups on a month-by-month basis, so to say. That's what's next for us.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Okay, I love that. Now we have about 6 minutes left, Victor, and I'm going to throw you a question that I think will probably take up that 6 minutes. You've described SMEs as the growth driver of economies. You've also described it as the heartbeat of economies, right? So it's essential. How can communities help drive the growth of more SMEs? How can communities support that heartbeat and keep it healthy so that the economy continues to grow and stay healthy for that community?
Brilliant question, Jason. So from my perspective as a Nigerian and as an African, I understand that there is a missing link, which is continuous education, basically. So our education system doesn't teach entrepreneurship. So people, come into the world of business and they are knocked down by all the many junks they had gathered while having formal education. So how can this support, or how can this plugin happen?
Uh-oh. I think we might have lost Victor.
Yes, he's frozen.
I believe,
so
to say, business knowledge. So start by catching them young. Teach people not only the basics of economics, not only the basics of commerce, not only the basics of arts, not only the basics of fine arts, not only the basics of social studies, but incorporate money management, incorporate investment education, incorporate, end-to-end re-engineering the education system. So people actually come out of the universities or come out of tertiary institutions with valid knowledge, in addition to paper knowledge, and then they can make right choices. And that way,
yes,
engagement as it relates to SMEs is stimulated from the home front, and then extended to the communities. So to say, that's the only way out of, or that's the only way to drive community engagement and drive, sector-driven conversations, if you ask me.
Absolutely. Wow. I think the education system have so failed. Jason, we see it in our environment, right? You don't get into reality until you come out and think, I have what, 200,000 in student debt to pay? Where did that come from? And you're right, Victor. You need to actually have that mindset early on. Kids need to think about, do I need Apple AirPods, or can I just get a cheaper one? It's like understanding money management, understanding how to sort of focus their time, what happens next. And you're right, the education system, in its desire to actually be so broad, has actually forgotten life.
Yeah. It's interesting on the education front. I think we could probably have 5 shows completely dedicated to the changing education. But the short version, is we know that not everyone can be an entrepreneur, right? Some businesses do require people to work for the business to exist, and not everybody has the just I don't know the resilience to deal with entrepreneurship, because it's brutal, right? It can be a brutal experience. But I do think that an education reform that helps expose youth to what entrepreneurship looks like and these different skills, there's probably a lot of people who should be entrepreneurs that we're totally missing. We're missing them from this equation, right? We're missing them from that growth in the economy because they don't know. They weren't exposed. And so it's finding those, right? It's fostering those people who should be entrepreneurs. That's where it is, right? And I love how Africa is leading on this, is trying to do this. I think almost everyone we've had on the show has talked about, one, the rise in entrepreneurship in Africa and this push to try and educate the next generation on how to take care of themselves rather than just try to get a job somewhere, right? So I love that you said that, Victor, because it certainly hits home for me personally, but certainly it seems to be a common theme that we're seeing from our guests. So I love it.
That's very true, Jason. Education reform that's the way to go. That's the first point. That's the starting point. So everybody gets to, understand basic trade, basic commerce, and then when you are ripe, before you get to 18 or 15 or thereabout, you are well equipped to make informed choices.
Absolutely.
Yeah, not everybody can be, not everybody is wired to be an entrepreneur or a business owner, but making informed choices comes with the right sets of knowledge, the right sets of tips, the right sets of insights, the right sets of education, the right sets of mindsets, basically. And that's what is missing in our education system.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more, Victor.
100%.
Guys, we are right at time. So almost certainly we're going to have you back, Victor. What do you say?
Absolutely.
It will be my pleasure, Jason and Vidi, to speak to us again anytime.
Let's do it again. Let's do it again. And maybe we'll dive a little bit more into education, or maybe there's some other parts of this whole equation that we haven't touched on yet that we can dive more into. So any just last thoughts, maybe 30 seconds, final words, Victor.
Yeah, my final words would be that we keep re-engineering economies, we keep re-engineering our education system, we keep re-engineering collaborations, we keep re-engineering partnerships, and then ensure that our communities are moving forward step by step, one stage at a time, one phase at a time, but essentially, plugging in the relevant handshakes and relevant conversations that drive us from as progressives, so to say. That's my last parting word.
Wonderful.
I love it. Well, thank you again, Victor. Really, really glad that you came on here today. Loved hearing from you. Thank you, Vidi, for calling in and taking
Pleasure.
a break from beautiful Caribbean to be here with me and Victor.
Thank you, Jason.
Awesome.
Thank you,
and,
Vidi. I enjoyed every moment of this.
Great. So did we.
This meeting.
So did we. And thank you to our audience for supporting us. Until next time, everyone, have a wonderful day,
Cheerio.
a wonderful weekend. Take care.
Have a good time.